computer. Yes. So it's a 3 o'clock. We are starting, and this is going to be live as well. I'll keep sharing the link. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. This is another awareness session of HR Shaper, okay, which is more on capability building, skill development, personal and professional development. It's unlike webinar which are keeps happening, on the various HR topic, okay. The topic for today's session is tips by executive search expert and headhunter. Yeah, these names always sound very professional and very, kind of, I would call it lucrative when somebody really think about it, because, this is the community always look for a talent in the market, right? Look for a very bright talent, and they look for those kind of talent which are not available normally. CVs on Naukri.com, CVs on Indeed, CVs on any website you can talk about it. Yeah, and we have very good speaker. They are from leading executive search expert headhunting firms. Okay, I will start sharing the screen. So this is Ashish Gakre, founder of HR Shaper. Thank you everybody for joining. Uh, I will be hosting this session along with me. It's a proud moment. Mr. Vardarajan, we call it Raja. He's mentor, coach, and that's for me, but he's well-known HR leader in the industries. I will come to his profile also. So both of us will be hosting this session. He will be chairing session. I'll be chairing the session. Thank you so much for joining. Anish sir has joined. Anish sir, would you like to change the name on the screen? If you go on the screen, there is a 3 dot, and just okay. I can change it, Ronesh ji. I'm changing. Yeah. Okay, I done that. You can see that now. Name is changed. Yes. Thank you. Okay, so here I'm sharing the screen. So I want confirmation from someone whether you are able to see the screen.
Get on to, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay,
can
great.
see.
Yes. So this is what we are here. HR Shaper awareness session, tips by executive search, and then there are various points which are being published, and I don't need to repeat this, but the 2 points we are going to cover majorly: how to position yourself to get headhunted and how to grow in the professional career, because headhunting and executive search do not go for 100% position, do not hunt 100% candidate. Yeah, this is my dot statement. Yes, so thank you all the speaker, accepting our invite, and along with, I would call it, thank you Raja sir for chairing this session and being architecture of this event. I will come to the profile reading of each one, one by one when the actual speaker session will go. Okay, so HR Shaper is, 8 years old body now. We are going to complete 8 years in month of February, just this month, and we have presence all over India, out of India. So almost, more than 25,000 member presence in each and every location. Yes, in the COVID, we have done a lot of events, but I would call, some of them were biggest contributor for our HR fraternity. So, Dave Ulrich, sir was there, Jason Everbook, then we have Shiv Khera and the CEO of Hogan. So these are some of the names, but besides that, there were more. I'm just sharing the screen here. Captain Raghuraman. And then, yes, as I said, awareness session. So when COVID started, we did employee engagement series. So there were almost, 40 HR leaders from 40 countries, sharing how the employee engagement during the virtual, has to be done. Then I come to the awareness series, which is on HRMS. I did 2 part, 2020, 2019, and then 2020 and 2021. The third one will be happening in 2022. This is bringing HRMS service provider on single platform to share, what is good all about their product, because digitalization is taking place everywhere, and HRMS is one of the thing, our HR leader always look for. So beside HRMS, there were awareness session on, new normal, how to do the HR event, HR session, HR summit. So there were almost 15 HR bodies. This I already covered. Yes, there was a world tour of Africa. So I did cover, 4 locations in a day. Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Tanzania. Similar will be done this year covering Middle East and Southeast Africa. What is coming for our community is part 2 will be there because many of them said, Ashish, I couldn't join this time and everybody cannot join, when it is happening. So part 2 will be happening in March. And then there is a wellness well-being series, employee experience session will be happening on 15th Feb. I will share the registration link. Then world tour I talk about, which will happen in April, May. Okay, I will run it fast. This is the employee engagement. We did it. Yes, the last session is a global webinar that was from Dr. Peter Kepley. He did talk about the future of office. This was another awareness session which was on more on HR compliances and BGV service provider. Yes, the one of the biggest mega event of HR Shaper is happen is like the finale of HR Shaper where HR Shaper. This is happening since last 2 years, and I am able to conduct the session on one day, one topic, one date, covering almost 40 countries, 40 location and 25 countries. And this has already happened twice. Okay, one date, one time, one topic. Yeah, in 2022 December it will happen again. So we are here. So thank you all the speaker. Thanks all the delegate joining. We have 280 delegates right now. I can see more will be joining. So Dr. Prasad Meduri, Managing Director from Auditor, Burnaston, India. Mr. Nirmit Parikh, CEO and MD of 3P Consultant. Dr. Dipendra, DP, Nigam, Managing Partner of Fortin International. Then Dr. Deepak Gupta, Client Partner, Conferry. Lakshmi Narasimha, Managing Partner, Athena Platus. Mr. Ronesh Puri, MD of Executive Exchange. And as I said, joining me, Mr. Vardarajan, who is a startup partner, board advisor, talent and strategy enable. He is very well known in HR field. We all know that. Okay, no event is completed without the support from partner, right? So we have two partners. One is from HRMS field. Okay, the you can see Gurpreet Singh is there, and in the background you can see the HRMS product name HRMS thread. Okay, he is representing company called Senses. Senses is a product on HRMS. That's one of the partners. Second partner is IDFY. They are into background verification. So without wasting much time, I already taken extra 3 minutes. Let me hand over to Gurpreet. Gurpreet, over to you. Gurpreet is from the sales team of Senses Technology.
Very well, thank you very much, and my warm greetings to everyone. So this is actually a very good opportunity, and we are really thankful to everyone to join us. So as well as we are delighted to have you amongst us on behalf of all the team members and the management. And we would like to extend our warmest welcome again and good wishes to everyone, right? And a very, very special thanks to Mr. Ashish to introduce us and to actually give us this opportunity for, to introduce ourselves and show what, amazing and wonderful product of HRMS we have and we can introduce, though we are in the industry for more than a decade now. So thank you very much again. Let me now start the presentation, and I'll try to introduce you to our software product. Thank you. Okay, fine. So we Senses Technologies, and we have been in presence since 2004, and it's our good success to complete successful 18 years. And so just a small introduction to ourselves. We Senses Technologies have been in the market from last 18 years, as I have already said. We are basically a complete IT development, a house where we have expertise in development of complete HRMS product. Then we have other taxation and other softwares in the industry as well. Today, we are proudly saying that we have 15,000 plus clientele and we have 180 plus professionals team working with us, whereby we have developers, programmers, testers, we have a very dedicated sales team, and of course, the after sales support is very much important, which is always available with us. And with that help, our all the clients are very happy and they are continuing using our services and software support through us. So talking about our presence, we are headquartered in Mumbai. Then our branch offices are in Delhi, NCR, Pune, and other pan India. We have our partners like Kolkata, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chandigarh, and Ahmedabad, and more obviously cities and states keep on joining us, and they would like to join hands with us. So you know that the more you join hands, the more business we get. Not only one person can expand more, but when you join hands, it can be a joint venture. So for a successful business organization, you always have to join hands. That's what we believe, and of course, same probably everyone believes the same. This is a small gesture to introduce our various products. Though we are going to talk about the HRMS only, but I'll just give you a small brief about our different products. First one is HRM Thread. That's very well said by Mr. Ashish, the HRMS product we have. Then we have the smaller version of HRMS, that is only the payroll package. We have TDS softwares available with us, which manages the taxable and which manages the salaries and non-salary tax deducted from the sources. Then we have a fixed asset register softwares. We have instant XBRL software as well, which by the help of this software, the big organizations will be able to file their financial returns. We have a very smart and quick software called MyPDM Signer, which helps the organization to sign their documents digitally. Right. Then we are into customized products. We have a platform of an ERP, whereby under the business process management, we understand clients' requirement and we develop the software basis on their needs. We have a complete CRM Thread software as well, which basically is used to manage and handle the pre-sale and sales activities. Along with that, we have hardware, devices where we supply the biometric devices to our clients wherever they use payroll and attendance. Eventually, they do require biometric system as well. On the other side, we have a kitty of people which handles the surveillance projects as well, whereby we supply CCTV cameras. So let me now concentrate to our HRMS, basically human resource management system, which is the necessity of almost every organization, not in India, but globally. Right. So our HRM Thread basically is a complete web-based application, and it is available in both on-premise as well as on cloud platforms, because it all depends on clients' need. We cannot force the client to only go with on-premise. So that's why we have both the platforms for the client to go very economical or go on a bigger level. Inside the HRM Thread, we have these 15 modules. If you may see the screen, so we have modules like employee database. This itself gives us the definition. You manage and store the employees' complete information and profiles. We have a training module. We have a dedicated payroll and attendance system with us. We have a leave module whereby employees will be able to submit online leaves, because the software also has a portal for the employees. It is called employee self-service logins, whereby every employee will be given a dedicated portal. They'll be able to see their profiles. They'll be able to do the activities like online leave application submissions. We have a reimbursement module, whereby with that tool's help, you can claim your expenses through the online system. There is a smart workflow also available basis on the hierarchy of the organization. Employees can also apply for advances and loans through the online portal. There is a tax planner. So this basically self guides you to save the tax liability. If you fall under TDS tax deductions, the system will automatically help you to save the tax liabilities. That it will guide you that you should invest in charity or you should invest in properties. So this is also a workflow level portal whereby employees can submit their investments. They can declare their investments using the portal. We have a dedicated travel module. Basically, this is a pre-requisition travel module which helps the employees to put up a request to the higher management or to his authority or to his manager to submit a travel request, right? Then we have modules like timesheet, we have modules like recruitment, we have other modules like performance management, exit management, as well as mobile application. So individually, these all modules have their own speciality. Like timesheet is basically specifically designed to use for the projects when you are working on a particular project or you have assigned the teams.
Sorry, Gurpreet, just last 1 minute. We just want to, start the session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll quickly finish it. I'll quickly finish it. Yeah. So I just wanted to introduce to about our modules. I'll quickly go to the next stage. Since we're by the names, you have already understood that what all modules we have. Just a small gesture about our clients. So these are the reputed clients already connected with us. Though, as I said earlier, we have almost 15,000 client database in our kitty, but out of these are the few clientele I had managed to name them because you can say Godrej and Oppo, Raymond's, Policy Bazaar, right? So we are very much thankful to them as well. And next, finally, thank you everyone and for listening to me and give me this opportunity. Again, I really thank Mr. Ashish. And further discussions, I think we can do through our contact details. You can mail us, you can call us. So everybody to send us email on contact@hrmthread.com. We will be very much happy to solve your queries, and we will also happy when you consider us to be your business partner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gurpreet.
End the session, Ashish.
Yeah, you can interact through chat box. Can you please stop sharing immediately?
Perfect. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. So that was one of the partner and another partner. As I said, background verification, IDPFY. Thank you both of you for supporting. So let me welcome our co-host, I would call it. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Vardarajan Raja is. This will stop sharing. You can see the screen?
Just leave it. That's all. Don't need to read through it.
Yeah. Okay.
You can go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So now let me do that so that, yeah. So he's none other than our senior HR leader in the industries, and he's known as a Raja, popularly known, as I said, and he's MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur, associate coach from Center for Creative Leadership, CCL, that's, and certified Hogan NLS qualified independent director. He has a more than 40 year of work experience. I've been in touch since last maybe more than 1 decade or 2 decades, I would closer to. And he worked in various industries, various location and region, Middle East, ASEAN, Southeast Asia, USA, UK. He worked in a company like McDonald's, Sundaram, TVS, then Price.
Ashish, just leave it. Ashish.
Okay, sir.
Leave it. That's
Sorry.
it. Now let's move to the next.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, sir. Okay.
No issues.
Okay, so sir, over to you.
Okay, great, Ashish. Thank you so much for accepting me to be your co-host and trouble you like this. It's a wonderful feeling to come back to HR Shapers. As Ashish was saying, we have been associated for over 2 decades. And I still remember the first HR webinar we did. And we call it the WhatsApp webinar. And that is the first ever WhatsApp webinar done in India. So many first, Ashish. Thanks for maintaining the networking as well as knowledge sharing. Let's move on to the first speaker for the day. The first speaker of the day is Deepak Gupta. Do you want to put up this thing so while I talk about the session? You're on mute, Deepak. Ashish, you're on mute.
I'm saying please continue. I'm just sharing the screen.
Okay. Deepak is a client partner with Conferry and a very old friend of mine. Look, being old, I'm old, so everyone will be old friends for me. It's a pleasure, Deepak, to have you here. And the way we will go around, go about the session is, I have a few questions to ask Deepak, and which will be the first few minutes of the session. And that is Deepak for you. I'm not going to go through the entire. He's well known in the industry as an executive search person, tremendous amount of experience, and more than that, he is a business psychologist. So I need to be careful with him when I speak to him. So Deepak, what we'll do is we'll put some questions to you, and we can then look at asking participants to ask questions in the chat box if possible, so that Ashish and me can pick up the questions and share. And we will be exactly 15 minutes end to end. Okay. My request to everyone else is please put yourself on mute, which will be a better thing to do so that we can hear the speakers well. Hi, Deepak.
Hey, good afternoon, Raja. Pleasure.
Good
Thank
to
you
see
very
you
much.
here, Deepak, after a long time.
Yes, indeed. A pleasure.
Great. Deepak, you have been in the business for so many years, and being a psychologist, I would like to ask you, what do you think and what do you measure as a visible leadership traits of people? And how can how can you plan to grow on these traits?
Okay. Well, thank you for that question. I'll try and keep it nice and short, Raja. So when we look at senior executives, so I'm going to break that up into competencies and traits, right? So, and look at behavioral aspects and then possibly talk about the traits. When it comes to the behavioral aspects, and this should be no surprise, agility is right at the top of the pile, and especially what we've experienced in the last couple of years, and the way we are heading out. So agility is really on the, as I said, top of the pile. Resilience is another aspect. Being the strength to keep moving forward even through difficult times is absolutely critical. And the other aspect, which may sound a little cliched, but I think it goes beyond cliches, is to do with aspiration. It's about the knowledge that we can make tomorrow different and better than today. And although this is a fairly simple statement, but sitting behind this statement is an implication. And that implication is that the ability to look forward and not to measure progress by looking at the rear view. Now, and hopefully that should make sense. A lot of, if you take this at a societal level, and you'll see a lot of societies across the world today taking a perspective which is looking at life from the rear view. And we know what the implications of that can be. So those are some of the key behaviors. I mean, I'm not going to talk about strategic thinking, this, that, and the other, because that is so pretty much well known. The other aspect that we look is around trust. Both being able to trust, which is difficult, and being trustworthy, which is also difficult, but being able to trust, because at the top of the house, the role of the CXO, CEO, senior leader is to be able to sort of deliver performance through people. And I'm sort of saying that out in a very simple and laymannish language. and that requires trust. Not something that easily comes to a lot of people, and especially, and I may be guilty of being biased here, especially in the subcontinent. Somehow trust as a factor just doesn't show up as much as it should. So that's on the competencies. In terms of traits, which is more about sort of personality, the one thing that we look for is, has this individual moved away from working or acting independently? Because if
Acting
independently,
okay.
right, not independence from an audit and a governance sense, but acting and independently from a, is this individual still an individual contributor somewhere in his or her mindset, right? Does this individual have the script that I'm in it to win it? So if you break open the statement that I am in it to win it, then that tells you a lot about the space and the perspective that this individual is coming to. So on a personality front, I mean, there's a whole lot of other things, but this is one bit that would be right at the top again. There are other aspects like, being a micromanager or getting to involved in the daily details, etc., etc. And most importantly, we've been talking about this for ever since, I don't know if it was Adam who gave the apple to Eve or the other way around. Um, this need to be liked. And there's been reams and reams of stuff written on it. There's been research done, but yet it still just hangs on. It's like it's a deep part of our DNA which just refuses to go away. And you see this in behaviors, and certainly that's something that we would want to check for. So I'll stop here. I can go on and on.
Great. Thank you. When you mentioned about the rear view mirror and the, looking forward, I always, remember quoting this, saying that is why they made rear view mirrors small and the windscreen big, so that you can see the future in a much larger aspect and the rear view mirrors a smaller aspect. Some of the questions which are coming, I want to mix them. You mentioned about agility, resilience, aspiration. When you're getting a face-to-face interview done, or when you're reviewing a CV of the person, how do you gauge these factors or the presence of these factors in them?
Right. So you see, while the interview is a beautiful instrument and a powerful one in solving the purpose, which is the interviewer wants to get to know about what the interview we done. But really, when you look at some of these competencies and traits, you have to go down the measurement part, right? You have to have specialists who know this business. Rather, I mean, there could be occupational chartered psychologists, like you have occupational or chartered engineers who know this discipline, the discipline of psychometry, the science behind assessments and measurement, human behavior and human personalities. I mean, you are Hogan certified, so I'm speaking to the choir. But you need to be able to deploy, you should be deploying some of these assessments. You can't leave it just to the interview. I don't know how, I mean, all of us have done so many interviews all across our careers. And whenever I look back, and I'm saying this in all honesty, not simply as a provocative statement, I land with this analysis of myself that I'm a terrible interviewer. Because when I interview, I am more interested in talking about myself and what I know, as opposed to understanding and listening to what the interviewer has to say. In fact, interviewing is a very boring process, because all you have to do is have to have 3 statements or questions, and you repeat them time and time again with one candidate to the other. It's a very boring process. And it's boring because you're more interested in listening to what the interviewer has to say. But then 9.5 out of 10 times, it's more about the interviewer. So I'll stop here because I don't want to go more
One of the
provocative
things
than
which I've
that.
seen, Deepak, as you rightly said, At the senior level, I have seen more of psychometric analysis coming into being now in India, like the Hogan, for example, or the Workplace Big Five, where people want to understand these people a little bit more internally rather than just getting them out of a interview. Maybe the interview can supplement based on some probes which you can get from these instruments.
Absolutely, you're spot on, Raja. Thank you for putting that so crisply. You see, at the end of the day, what do assessments do? They put data on the table. And what does data do? Data helps you arrive better decisions. So you have robust assessments. You talked about Hogan. Of course, you have. I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Conferri. I mean, we are miles ahead of any other competitor. That's my sales pitch. But when it comes to assessments, yeah, you should be, because the risk is too high, right, of going wrong at those levels, and you just can't leave it to the interview. Because yeah, like I said, for the reasons I mentioned earlier. And you're also right. The assessment then gives you very specific probes, which is what the interview should be doing. It should be drilling down into the specific probes to exactly understand the behavior that the individual undertook or the response that the individual demonstrated to a certain situation. And then what you want to understand as an interviewer, especially at the senior levels, at the top of the house, is what was the thinking behind choosing that response. You are more interested in understanding the thinking than the response.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second follow-up question that you would want to then come along with is, what were the outcomes that one achieved? So you responded to a certain situation in a way. We'd like to understand what your thinking was. Then what is the outcome that you landed with? That's important.
Okay.
And then finally, you close it off by saying, okay, what did you learn out of that? Those are the three questions really any interview should be focusing on.
Great. In fact, one of the things which I was taught very early in life, when I was taught competency-based interviewing and everything, was the STAR methodology.
Right.
Where you ensure that you have a situation, explain the task, what action you personally took, and what was the result. And you put it in a very nice way, thinking and outcome. Whether that working is happened to you. I don't know whether you'll select me also. If I was to come to you, what is the personal brand I need to build up?
This is that could turn into a long conversation. Okay, so let's break it down. Like any other brand, right? You go back and ask fundamental questions. What is that brand? What does a brand need to do? It needs to create that interest in, whatever the consumer base is. So if you go back to the basics of brand building, which you would study in any 101 of marketing and brand management, just pick up those principles from there and apply it to yourself.
Okay.
That having said, with the human beings, and again, either we tend to focus too much on developing an expertise point of view. So we all want to be seen as experts, right? And that can get us to up to a certain place, up to a certain level. But beyond, I mean, if I want to grow beyond, let's say, senior mid levels or even business unit levels into the C-suite, then it doesn't have to be anymore about being an expert. So think carefully through, but that also, and then all the underlying pieces that, of course, you need to communicate, you need to sort of make sure that you market yourself, all of that goes. So brand building, those principles are available.
Okay.
And they're similar.
Great. Deepak, thank you so much for your time. I think, you in this limited time, you're able to give so much of words of wisdom. And what I am taking it is, if you are in it to win it, be sure that you have the attributes to win it. I think that is one takeaway, which is a lovely one. Thank you so much, Deepak, for your time. And before I hand over to Ashish, I just want to tell the participants, I know a lot of questions are coming in. I will try to combine them and ask rather than ask those individual questions, because it's difficult to answer all the questions which come in. And if people are available, like Deepak is available for some time, maybe Deepak, you can look at the chat and respond to a few questions if you can. And I ask the same for all the panelists who are here. If you have the time to respond to any of these questions, please do so. Ashish, back to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Raja sir. Thanks, Dr. Deepak. Lot of question coming for you, so please be there. Answer some of them, and most of the question related to interview techniques and all. Great. Okay, so from here we go to next speaker, and I'm sharing the screen here. Yes. Okay, that's none other than Dr. Prasad Meduri, Managing Director, Odgers Burnaston, if I'm able to pronounce properly, sir. Uh, he is Managing Director, yeah, that's a executive search firm based in New Delhi. He heads India office operation and focus on sector of industrial energy, infrastructure, and education. Earlier, he was senior partner in India operation of a leading global network in executive search. Doctor has over decade of search expertise in board, general management, functional leadership, position covering industrial infrastructure, technology, education practices in South Asia and Greater China. Thank you, Doctor. And I would like to tell everybody that I am in touch with Doctor since last. Uh, Perhaps okay, before COVID I was meeting doctor every year in Mumbai, right? During one of the evaluation session organized by Dr. Bhatia World HRD Congress. That was for candidate judgment. Thank you, doctor, and really that was wonderful chair session you are chairing. Okay, so, Doctor, you must have seen a lot of questions coming from interviews, okay? And our topic says tips by executive search expert. And then some of the topics coming across, how to position yourself and all. People are more interested to know, okay, how to give the interviews. But that is a later stage. People should know, people should understand from this session that how they can get there. That's most important, right? Because executive search and headhunting not done for 100% position, 100% candidate. It's done for only selected and selected position and candidate. So first question to you, Dr. Prasad, based on your rich experience, please share your insight that how should candidate position themselves in the talent market.
Ashish, thanks for inviting me. A pleasure to be here as part of this forum. I've been in search for 15 years, and before that in industry for about 16, 17 years, and earlier in academics for about close to a decade. So in the search process, you're quite right. The issue is how do candidates position themselves in the marketplace? Do they as I think Raja was asking the earlier speaker Deepak, do they create their own brand? What do they do? I mean, it's very difficult given the amount of networking required in the marketplace, but I would suggest candidates should make a serious effort to differentiate themselves. The worst thing they can do is be a commodity. Everyone saying the same thing, everyone, coming out with the same, statements doesn't really help. The idea is not to be provocative. The idea is to come out with a distinctive value proposition. And that value proposition could be as simple as saying that I have been able to excel in performance for my organization vis-a-vis the industry or against competition for the last 10 years across multiple business cycles. Or I have been able to demonstrate significant amount of longevity, and I've been able to create this kind of performance. Creating a distinctive value proposition is, I would think, perhaps one of the most important aspects of positioning yourself in the marketplace. Second, candidates should be able to, show a definitive point of view. Every time there's a discussion happening, the idea is to say, what is your perspective on that topic? What is the point of view you're bringing to the table? It could be in terms of the economy, it could be in terms of your market segment, it could be in terms of leadership attributes, but what is your distinctive point of view and why do you have it? And that is actually very important in understanding whether the candidate brings a distinctive personality to the table and brings a certain amount of intellect to the table. In today's world where, products, like I said, commodities have become, ubiquitous, the key is to show that you can be consultative in approach and you're capable of going for a solution. So when I look at candidates, for example, in the industrial sphere or the technology sphere, the point is, can they collaborate with others? Can they create, can they create value stacks? Can they create solutions, which is much more than purely a box? And how do they achieve it? They achieve it by being able to work as part of a team and bring value out there. So these are all things that a good performer is supposed to do in the workplace. Now, how do you bring that as part of your positioning to the marketplace? And that you do in terms of documentation, that you do in terms of speaking to search consultants, that you do in terms perhaps, through LinkedIn, through email. And one of the things I must say is sending long emails or LinkedIn messages doesn't really help. Most of us don't really have the time to go through that. So part of the positioning is being able to come out with a very concise statement of value. So that's really what I think candidates need to do in the marketplace today for positioning themselves.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, just out of the syllabus and linking to one of the questions coming, that where do you see such candidate available? Because I'm sure executive search firm not going to the ordinary or traditional way of finding out where they are available. Why? Because I wanted you to tell us, okay, so that they can position themselves in those 1, 2, 3 places.
So the way the search process happens, and there's a certain amount of science, but there's also a certain amount of gut feel to it. You normally start by looking at companies that bring good business practices to the table. So if you want to do a search for a HR leader, and very contemporary, we have HR professionals as part of this forum today. Some of the companies where HR professionals actually flourish very well are companies like, say, Unilever or Marico or the likes. They got excellent business practices out there, excellent HR practices. So a search consultant would start by looking at such companies and identifying who are the right people out there. I always maintain a good candidate is one who's not necessarily in the market. They are actually quite happy where they are, and they're highly valued where they are. So the onus is on the search consultant to find those people. I also maintain they are stars sitting in perhaps lesser known organizations, lesser branded organizations in terms of governance. So the key is to come out with an appropriate mix of that approach. So look at organizations that have excellent business practices. Look also at organizations that tend to be less structured. So people who are succeeding out there are succeeding irrespective of the organization. And they are the people perhaps who could do very well in other organizations. They'll bring the attribute of agility and resilience to the table, like my previous speaker, Deepak Gupta, mentioned. So I think that is exactly what a search consultant tends to look at when we are looking at where do you find the talent in the marketplace.
Thank you, sir. So just follow-up question and message to all those who are joined. We have 330 delegates as of now. That okay, basically Dr. Prasad is saying, they look for, or such executive search firm look for places, company where good practices, and you rightly said, good people never look for a change. They need to be hunted, right? Thank you so much. Okay, next question, Doctor, is what are the key attributes a search consultant look into the candidate?
I would say we need to have a good mix of what I call both hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills is really demonstrating the expertise in your domain, in your function as a general manager, and soft skills is around the whole world of attributes and competencies. When we look at strong talent, we're looking at people who outperformed the market, who outperformed competition and over a period of time. We look at people who have demonstrated performance with stability and longevity. I get really worried when I look at a candidate who claims to have performed miracles, but has made 8 changes in 15 years or 10 changes in 20 years. I mean, I have serious doubts as to whether they've contributed much to the organization. So I'd be much more pleased to look at people who perhaps have gone through 3 or 4 changes in the last 2 decades and have gone through business cycles and contributed irrespective of the business cycles. In the softer skills, I think it's very important to look at people who are relatively open, who have a good sense of listening. You know, one of the biggest problems leaders have today is the ability to listen. You know, everyone wants to talk about what their view is. Sometimes it's important to also, you know, backtrack and start listening to what your team is telling you, what your colleagues are telling you. So in the whole evaluation process, one tends to look at their willingness to be inclusive. How do they work, for example, in a diverse setup? Not just diversity or gender diversity, but in a diverse setup. And how willing are they to listen? And how do they factor in feedback? These are some of the key attributes, I believe, some of the softer skills I believe is absolutely essential. And we've already talked about the need to, demonstrate resilience. But equally important, I think the whole perspective of professional and personal, ethics is very important. Nowadays we see people, a lot of people whose CVs, unfortunately, are not very honest. People who claim to have created magic, and when you actually go and do a proper reference or you do a soft reference, you find that they were one of the team members. So I think demonstrating personal and professional integrity is very important in today's age. This is unfortunately the ecosystem of chalta hai. So everything goes, including claiming you have done everything out there. So these are some of the things we look at, Ashish.
Thank you, Doctor. Once again, please share, some of the do's and don'ts to the point. If some of the point not covered by you, while candidate actually look out for a change.
I think I always believe leaving an organization or joining an organization is an inherently personal decision. There could be a variety of reasons. I mean, one of them could be the fact that they're not happy in the organization, they can't relate to their own reporting manager, or they find the culture to be dysfunctional or corrosive, or they just plain don't like the money they're getting, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I normally find the good candidates look at a mix of reasons why they look at a change. If I had to suggest some do's and don'ts in today's market, I think one do is clearly being clear that you want to look at the opportunity. Too many times we engage with a candidate and suddenly 6 weeks down the road, they say they've changed their mind. And I wonder what kind of candidate is this who cannot even make up their mind. That demonstrates a lack of decision-making in my viewpoint. And it also demonstrates, honestly, a lack of integrity when they come back and say that they've changed their mind. You don't change your mind. I would expect you have done due diligence before you got into the process. The second thing I would encourage candidates to do is apart from due diligence, is to also demonstrate a certain level of professional etiquette. So if a potential client wants to talk to you, don't hang tough out there and don't say I don't have the time. That makes no sense. If you're interested, you have the time for it. So demonstrate the interest, participate in the process, accept there'll be a certain amount of time to be taken. Don't be high maintenance, please. I have a real abhorrence with high maintenance candidates. While the talent pool is still very limited, and I say it very openly, the fact of the matter is there's still enough candidates who are worth it. A couple of don'ts in today's relatively hot job market. Please don't be unreasonable with compensation expectations. Suddenly last year, people are happy with the 12% or 15% adjustment, taking a new job, and suddenly the same person wants a 45 to 50% jump in compensation. I mean, what's happened? So I would only encourage that there should be rationality in your thought process. So these are some of the do's and don'ts I would encourage with the candidates in terms of what they expect when they go in the job market.
Thank you, Doctor. We'll take one question, and that's from my side. Actually, there are a lot of good questions. Uh, when we talk about headhunting or executive search criteria, what level it is being decided? Let's say you say okay, above XYZ designation, or this much salary and all.
Uh, well, if it is specific to my organization in Rogers Benson, we normally would do leadership hiring. Which for different organizations, the compensation could be different. Some organizations, the compensation cutoff could be well above 1 crore. Some organizations, it could be in excess of 60 lakh rupees. So we do work both with large, companies. We also work with globalizing mid-market companies. So I would not go with any specific benchmark. It depends on the organization. So it could be looking for a CHRO one day, it could be looking for a business HR partner. The second day could be looking for a divisional HR leader for a large conglomerate the third day. Very different skills. So one day you could be looking at a HR leader who has to bring industrial relations to the table, handling unions, wage negotiations. The next day it could be people who have expertise in different centers of excellence, including talent acquisition, talent management, learning and development. Or the third, it could just be being a strong business partner in a commercial context or in a business P&L context. So I think that's a beauty of search. We do deal with different people, and we do handle different positions. So I will not say we do CEOs. All the positions we do are CEOs. No. We do a number of CXO positions, and for larger companies, larger clients could even be N-2 levels. So I know a very large manufacturing client where I appointed the CFO, then I next appointed the procurement controller and the sales controller. Those are N-2 positions. So no, I'm not sure that answers your question, but that's what the search business is all about.
To a large extent, yes, sir. So thank you, Dr. Prasad, looking at the time, but please be there. Look at the question and the, the insight which you shared in the comments which are coming in the chat box. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Prasad.
Welcome, Ashish. Thank you so much. Good catching up with you. All right.
So from here, we go to the next speaker. Okay, so I'm sharing this. Okay, I'm sharing the, yes. So, okay, the third speaker for a day is Mr. Ronesh Puri, Managing Director, Executive SAS. He comes with more than 25 years of experience as a headhunter. He placed 600 candidates in leadership position, various industries, 100 plus CEO he plays of institution, independent board director. He works across industries, assets management, insurance, private equity, FMCG, hospitality, pharma, healthcare, and list goes on. We can read it. He has placed over 40 CHRO because we have CHRO on this session, and he has written number of articles in leading publication, especially Times of India. We all know what executive search, executive access is. Let me hand over this session to chair. I mean, let me invite let me invite Raja sir to chair this session. Sir, over to you.
Ashish, I want to tell you something.
Pardon?
I want to tell you something. I have not been knighted by the Queen of England yet. So please don't call me sir.
Okay. I will call you Raja. Yes.
Okay, that is better. Okay. Great. Ronesh, good to have you here. It's wonderful to meet you also, if not face to face through this medium. And before I invite you to share your thoughts, Prasad, thank you so much. It was wonderful hearing you and wonderful to have you here as well. Ronesh, what we'll do is, I wanted you to share your perspective on this headhunting space. And then we will take some questions. I have a question for you, and I'm sure we'll get more questions from the very robust participation. Okay. Over to you, Ronesh.
Thank you very much, Raja. Always a pleasure meeting you. It's a virtual world, so we meet virtually.
Yeah.
And things have really changed.
We haven't met for the last 2 years.
Absolutely. But I see you are still as young as you were and as witty as you have always been. I love your comment to
Ronesh and I know each other for the last 30 years. So we will be pulling each other's legs quite a lot. Go ahead, Ramesh.
So, no, pleasure being on this panel, and pleasure getting to know all of you. Please do shoot your questions. And you were wanting me to cover a little bit on what the search business, Raja?
Yep.
Yeah. So first of all, if there are any of you listening and guys who somewhere down the line think that search could be a career for you, I would just certainly encourage the thought process, because nothing can provide you more learning than search. The beauty of our business is that every day is a good learning opportunity, because each candidate, whether good, bad, whether he's suitable, not suitable, will always teach you something. And obviously you learn a lot from your clients. So it's a great business to be in. You learn every day, and every day is a new day for you. And you may have been 30 years in this profession, 40 years, but you are still always a learner. There'll always be something that will challenge you, something that will be different. So it's a great business. And if I've encouraged some of you to sort of hop over to this side of the table, then I think the time has been well spent. I personally, I just stumbled into this profession, no strategic design. I think God was kind one day, and that's where, and I love it. I love it because there's so much of variety and so much of learning. And also there's always an opportunity to contribute and do something meaningful. What is our business? Our business is nothing more and nothing less than marriage making. So what we are trying to do is to just marry. That's about nothing good, bad. And if we effect happy marriage, then we have done our job. And if it has led to a divorce, then believe me, somewhere down the line, we could blame it and say the clients chose. But somewhere down the line, I think we as search consultants have to take part of the blame. And there would be something that we have not seen or something that we have. And it's not easy to read a human mind. That's the other part of it. I know there were some questions that Deepak was sharing in terms of interviews. And Raja was mentioned about psychometric. Oh, how I wish the two could solve and decipher a human being. Neither an interview can, nor believe me, the psychometric, the most scientific ones as well, because psychometric also has one issue, which is it is based only you'll get good outputs if the response has been truthful. And we know what candidates do. They're far more intelligent. So they will always pick the most appropriate response and not the most truthful one. So you get also skewed results. No contradictions, etc. There are always ways to beat that system. So whatever you have, you have to take with a pinch of salt and know that, look, that is not going to be a solution to all your problems. But the business, is interesting because you contribute. I don't know how many of you know, but more than 50% of the hiring that takes place results in a mishire. Which means, and this is a global statistics, over 50% of the hiring that takes place in the best 100 organizations of the world, the biggest one is a mishire. And the minimum cost of a mishire is 26 times a candidate's annual compensation package. So do your maths. Even a candidate which is costing you 10 lakh rupees, if you get it wrong, has costed you 2.5 crores. Just imagine the magnitude that is at stake. So this profession is both art and a science. This profession has a lot of key challenges because you always have to read between the lines of what the candidate is saying in an interview, because all that they're saying you is not 100% true. Read between the lines also to what a client tells you, because in spite of anything, they're not going to tell you all the bad story. So you have to read and not go through what is the standard job descriptions. They're not even worth the piece of paper they're written on. Believe me. In 26 years, I can tell you, it's just something to have. But doesn't that give you an insight? Because people are not very clear in terms of what they want achieved out of a position. You want a CHRO, but what is your problem statement? What are the 3-4 things you want fixed? And for one company, the same CHRO with the same mindset can be great at one and not so good at another. So go on. So there is quite a stuff which is on the gray side, which I think over the years of experience, you learn. And that is why I say that whoever is in this profession, I think I would tend to say they age a little slower than the rest of them, because you are challenged every single day. And that's the beauty of our profession.
Okay, great. Ronesh, thank you very much. When I was hearing you, on one side is the organization and the other side are the prospective candidates. Literally, to put it very bluntly, the search consultants plays the role of a matchmaker.
Yeah.
Right? And the success of the matchmaker is very critical for the organization to succeed. So, what do you see as the most critical aspects in a candidate? One is, of course, a functional specialist, what the functional knowledge. Apart from functional knowledge, when you look at a senior level person, what are the 2-3 traits which you look for in a candidate?
So I think first of all, Raja, I wish it was the same for every company. The fact of the matter is it is not, because there's one thing that is also in play, which is the chemistry between people.
Okay.
When the chemistry between people, and it could be any culture, any company, any organization, is very good, then even the big problems become small. But if there's an issue of chemistry between the people, the small problems become big. And that, in spite of whatever the person would produce, it will not work. But there are things that you look for which are a must, and there are things which are also red herring and which you want to avoid. Generally, in a candidate, I think first of all is, the sheer energy and a passion that the candidate shows. Because it's a much more action-oriented world today than it was about even 5 years back. And therefore, you need somebody who thinks on his feet. So that is one part. And if people, I believe, work better when they work with both the heart and mind. If somebody is working with only one faculty, which is either the heart or the mind, the results will be suboptimal. And everybody, whenever they want to hire anybody for any positions, they obviously want return of investment, which would be at least 5-10 times what they pay. So therefore, it becomes critical to look at that particular DNA. Then the person has also to be somebody who's a learner, because you can't live on your old reputations. You can't live on your old whatever you knew earlier. So is the person a learner, or is the person arrogant and thinks he knows it all, or God's gift to mankind? So that is the other part, I think, which is more important. The third is the sheer value system of a person. Person is the honest. If a person is an honest person, he'll be honest at work. But if a person is dishonest, he'll be dishonest anywhere. There. So there are some criteria that are there, but I think they have to go. They are very, very generic. I think you have to dig deep, and you have to dig deep in terms of what is this person who brings on the table, and what is it that client wants on the particular position, and are they compatible or are they not? Because if the person is required, supposing a company wants, an exponential growth, and the person here is, say, a maintenance person, it won't work. It won't, or vice versa either. So therefore, you have to look at those critical key attributes and then marry them. But I would and say that yes, your integrity, your learning quotient, your resilience, your agility, your knowledge and insight of what's happening in your ecosystem, your passion of the job, and your hunger. All those are good qualities to have in any human being, and followed with that, obviously, is a certain sense of stability. A rolling stone obviously doesn't gather any moss. And the person has been all over the place, that you can be sure he'll do the same to you.
There have been quite a few questions coming up from the participants asking, how can I be visible to a headhunter? What do I need to do to ensure that a headhunter knows me? What do I do to see that the headhunter is, able to connect to me? Because I don't know who is looking for what. So what will be your tips to such people on how they need to be? I have all my life tried to attract your attention. I have never got it. So I'm saying, how can others get attracted?
Well, advertisers are good people to know, to be honest with you, though we may think we do more than we actually end up doing. Because at the end of the day, what are we? I mean, we are dependent on the client and we are serving a client need. So first of all, we will be partial to the need of the client. And secondly, if we know you, we will tell you this is not for you or this is for you. But it is good to stay on the radar. Because if top of mind, I think doesn't do any harm. To be there. How you can, to be fair, I think it's a little chemistry that you may want to, and the middle road is good, because there's some people who will always be calling every 10 days as to anything for me. It doesn't really help. But there are some people who will just call you and forget about it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So I think a middle road of somewhere to be in contact, to know, or just to have somebody as your mentor and guide won't do you any harm. But believe me, all these are enablers. What is going to help you is your sheer ability. It is your capability, your performance, where you have actually made a difference. Because the headhunter is always looking at winners. And always trying to look who's the mover and a shaker and what are they doing. And if you are one of them, believe me, he will be chasing you 10 times more. And if you are not one of them, then any quantum of chasing that you do may not help, because it's not in his hands, however much the person may want to help you. Because at the end of the day, it is a fitment. And it is what is the right fitment. And a good headhunter will always be partial to the right fitment.
Great. Thank you so much, Ronesh. I think it's the time now. Thank you so much for your sharing your expertise, experience, and your words of wisdom, and very, very practical and candid words of wisdom, as always. Wonderful interacting with you, Ronesh. And, please be around for some time. There are a lot of questions coming in from participants. If you have the time, please do respond to them on the chat box. And it's wonderful. We'll catch up soon as the COVID reduces.
Absolutely. Look forward to that, and a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ronesh. Ashish, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Ronesh Puri. Thank you so much. So we go to the next one. Okay, some disturbance.
I was actually running a mixie in the mic, yeah.
Raja sir, there is some disturbance.
No, not my end yet. I don't have any mixie running next to me.
Okay, so let me invite Dr. Dipendra, DP Nigam, Managing Partner, India, Horton International. Okay, he is known as a DP. And MMS from JBIMS, PhD in Management, is consummate sales and marketing professional. Initial 10 years in corporate, VIP Industries and American Express, 30 years in HR, recruiting and search, Spain in India.
Can you hold on, Ashish? Ashish, I can't hear you. Can I ask everyone to please go on mute, please? Everyone, except DP, Ashish, and me. Can everyone please go on mute? Go ahead, Ashish.
Yes, sir. So I would like to invite you to chair the session now.
Great. Hi, DP. Wonderful to see you.
Hi, Vardha. Long time, Raja.
Yeah. In fact, for the participants' sakes, DP and I know each other for almost 30 years now. As colleagues in American Express, but then over a period of time, we parted ways into different things. And again, we connected back because he was in the headhunting business and a very good headhunter as well. So DP, good to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
So what we will do again is with you, DP, I have a few questions and we'll also try and answer some questions from the participants.
Raja, I have a presentation which I'd
Please do
like to
go
make.
ahead. Go
Right.
ahead.
Okay. So Gerard, my colleague, will share. But
Yes,
first
please.
of all, I think I must say I'm delighted to be a part of this forum. Delighted to be amongst consummate HR professionals. Delighted to be with stalwarts from HR like Raja, old friend, and stalwarts and peers from the executive search sector. What I've really done is I've taken Ashish's brief, which was basically how do HR professionals get headhunted by headhunters, and I've stuck to that. And
Okay.
I have a presentation which encapsulates that. Given the mixed audience, I've kept it very simple, very straightforward and action oriented. Like Ashish said, sales and marketing background. So I've kept it sales oriented. How do you market yourself? And I've christened it, get hunted by the headhunters. So we'll come to that. Give you a very quick update on Horton International. We are now back into the global top 40. Jerry, next slide, please. This is Hunt Scanlon, 30 plus countries. Previous slide, my friend. 30 plus countries, 45 offices, 250 consultants. We are present across the globe. Jerry, next one. We are present across the globe, wherever there's that. And our differentiators, we are all entrepreneurs. Each managing partner owns his business in his own country. We are owner operators. And every time it's our personal reputation on the line, each time, every time. Small enough to care, large enough to deliver globally. And in India, each partner has CEO, CXO level experience, and we are adding more. Now I'll just take a bit aside and give you a scenario. God forbid someone is not well in your house, or you are healthy and want to get healthier. What do? You Google, you go to friends and learn self-medication. You self-medicate, take pills. That works damn good. If it doesn't, you go to the local general practitioner, go to the specialist, local senior doctor, and hopefully things work out. But if they don't, you come to a super specialist. Super specialist reviews previous treatment, course corrects, and normally gives a new treatment. Now, search recruitment works exactly the same way. Self-medication is in-house work. Most companies have pretty good teams. You do work in-house and hopefully it works. If it doesn't work, or concurrently you give it to a few other consultants, many times multiple consultants, and hopefully it works. And most often than not, it does. But if it doesn't, then you come to people like Ranesh, like Prasad, and all of us, the super specialists. So I would call us the super specialists who handle things which haven't worked otherwise. And many times, depending on the mandate, it comes to us directly. Next slide, please. Now, every consultant calls himself an executive search consultant and a headhunter. And us, is there a difference between us? Answer is yes. Most other consultants are contingency search consultants or recruitment guys, advertise, polter, middle to senior management level, large number of players, large volumes, multiple consultants on a mandate, contingency, which means fees paid only when the person joins. And what you get, HR professionals, is the best available candidate. When you come to us, the 6 people on this panel, it's a different ballgame altogether. We are retained search consultants. I would call us headhunters to differentiate us from the others. Proactive research followed by focused headhunting, usually passive candidates. I'll give you an example later. Usually top management, we are best used at top management or senior management. Select number of players in our segment. We are retained by the client on exclusive basis, and what you get is the best possible candidate as opposed to the best available candidates. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Gerard, next slide.
Yeah. Now, you see 6 people here. All of us represent the executive search space. What are our profiles? We're senior professionals, career search professionals with 20 plus years experience, Roneshu, or CXO level experience, prior experience, and then executive search, like Prasad and myself. Usually domain and sector specialists. Big difference is we are business and management consultants in the people space. We're not recruiters. If someone calls me a recruiter, I feel a bit offended. We are involved partners. We take the trouble and insist on understanding the business plan, the business imperative basis which you want to recruit. We provide market feedback and suggestion. We help refine and define specs and develop and execute a comprehensive search strategy. We are veterans at interacting with people. You saw Deepak, all of us have done it and seen it. Most important, we have a long-term perspective. We develop relationships with clients and potential candidates, and we are trusted advisors to both client and candidates. We develop long relationship with clients. Next one, please. What kind of mandates come to us? Strictly confidential, specialized positions, mission critical, other sources, methods have not worked. I gave you the example earlier. Difficult to find passive candidates. Job and our company has to be promoted. Candidate has to be persuaded to look at the opportunity basis, our credibility, in addition to the company. And Raja pinged me saying, give an example. So I'll give you an example. A year and a half back, we were asked to do an MD CEO position for a mid-size financial services company. The previous MD CEO had left. There were some issues, and we were asked to get the best. Go for people who are from much bigger companies and get the best, a brand, if you wish, into the company. And well, we presented 6 people. During the course of the search, the chairman also left. And each of these 6 people were from companies which are at least 10 to 20 times the size of the company that we were recruiting for. And every one of those 6-7 candidates, when we first spoke to them, said, DP, are you serious? Do you really want me to look at this mandate? And my answer was yes. And here are 5-6 reasons why you should. Cut a long story short, 6 people presented themselves to the board, 1 joined, and of course, 1 only can join. And he's been there close to 2 years. He's happy. The board is happy. And most important, the stock market is happy because the market cap has gone up more than 2 times. So therefore, we are also brand ambassadors for the company and also for the candidate. We work on a retained and exclusive basis engaged by the company. Next slide, please. How do you get noticed and build relationships with us? So as I said, I've called it get hunted by the headhunters, which I thought was the motive behind it. Personal brand, very definitely visibility. But please make sure it is controlled, it is quality, and it is relevant. Don't be all over the place spraying from a Sten gun. Use social media. LinkedIn is perhaps the most preferred. Invite people, write, share quality stuff. Give you a prime example of a ex-CHRO who wrote a post very recently, and 7 top headhunters, including Prasad here, and my good friend Mario Lobo commented on it. So that speaks quality of the network he has and the quality of stuff he posts. In addition to social media, do network, be accessible to headhunters, be part of relevant trade and professional bodies like HR Shapers, NHRD, publicize relevant work, your involvement in wellness programs and initiatives. Be very clear yourself. What do you bring to the table? If you're presenting yourself as a candidate, most of us HR people know how to take interviews. Believe you me, HR people, with due respects to all of us, are not the best interviewees. Be very clear what you bring to the table, what value and value add you bring to the table. I'll elaborate on this. Be clear where you want to be. You want to go up the ladder, become a CHRO, or if you're a CHRO, Do you want to be a CHR of a larger organization or go the CEO route, which is now once again the buzzword? Build relationships. I think Ronesh mentioned that, don't disappear for a couple of years or don't even call every day. Build relationships with a long-term perspective. Next slide, please. What do headhunters look for in a potential future candidate? Mid to long-term potential, because you're hiring for the future. A track record of demonstrated and progressive performance. It has to be progressive. You should have done better jobs. Cultural alignment and adaptability. Can you adjust to different cultures? Versatility, taking initiative, doing work out of the syllabus. Change and transformation orientation. Have you been a part of change? Can you adjust to change? Because when you're going into another organization, it's usually a transformation or a change agenda. Clarity of thought and purpose, which I mentioned earlier. Will he or she bring value add to the organization is what we would look for. Next one. I mentioned value and value add twice. So if it's a HR and you want to go up the CHRO route, what value do you bring as an HR professional? Do you have experience in business HR, PMS, TA, OD, special projects like wellness, transformation? Digitalization is the latest one. Handling great resignation, employee branding is your positioning as a HR professional. Your value as an HR professional. And what value do you bring to the value add do you bring to the table? You have cross-functional experience. You have P&L business experience, leadership and special projects. Is he or she an asset to an organization that I'm hiring for? And is he a long-term one? Today's buzzword is most CHROs, just go back, Gerard, please. Most CHROs want to become CEOs, right? Lina is the latest example. There have been many CHROs earlier who become CEOs. My good friend Raman Madhok became a CEO at 43. There's Ashish Srivastav sitting in PNB MetLife, and I'm sure there are many more like that. In fact, the latest one is CEOs doing HR. If you read the papers, Nitin Pradhanjpe is handling HR now. So the point is, if you want to go that route, first of all, be very clear where you want to be and work towards it, get the right experience that you have, right? Do the next one, please. Quick one on do's and don'ts. Again, directed towards all of you if you want to, get our attention and build relationships, especially when you're not looking for a career transition. Remain visible. I mentioned controlled, quality, and relevant. Very important. And this one may surprise a lot of you and may not go well with quite a few, but nevertheless, I think it's very important. Your CV, your profile should be short and sweet. Maximum 1 to 2 pages. Raja will relate to this. In Amex, we were not allowed to do anything more than 1.5 pages. I see CVs which are 5 pages, very well drafted by professional CV writers. All of them look the same. They don't mean much. A CV is you. It is representing you. Do it yourself. Get professional help, but keep it short and simple. Leave something for the headhunter or the interviewer to discover, right? Some don'ts. Don't call us only when you need us. Call and expect to be attended to immediately. Ronesh gave an example. People keep calling. Please do. We will give you attention. We would also want to talk to you. And last but not the least, be approachable yourself. Relationship is always a two-way process. So folks, that's what I have to say. Focus was on getting headhunted by us. And thank you very much. Together to the top. Thank you. Happy to take questions if any. Radha.
VP, I have a question. Thanks so much for your crisp and very clear presentation on what you look for. And that I'm sure is going to be very helpful for most of the participants here. I have one question to ask you. Many times when headhunters come to us or even HR guys look at us, how important is the length or years of experience against the quality of experience? Because many times you say, I have 14 years of experience or 20 years of experience. But is that relevant or the quality relevant?
The length gives you maturity, but it's the quality which matters. I mean, you have CEOs at 35, 40. It's the quality which matters. But more than quality and the length is your learnability. Can you adapt? I think Deepak mentioned resilience. Do you have that? Can you pick up things? It's nice to have experience and quality experience, but what do you bring to the table? Is it relevant to the next assignment? That is what I think most of us would look for.
Great, Dippy. Dippy, I would invite you to stay back and respond to some questions on the chat box if you can. Thank you
will.
so much for your wonderful words of wisdom. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Over to
much,
you.
Ashish and Raja.
Thank you, Dippy. Over to you, Ashish.
Dippy
And
sir.
next session, I know, is a good friend, Nirmit. Long time.
I'm a
Over
good
to
friend
you,
of mine.
Ashish.
Hi. Thank you, DP sir. So let's go to the
Thank you.
next speaker. Okay, so here is Mr. Nirmit Parikh, MD, CEO of 3P Consultant, and he's Managing Director's CEO, which is reputed retail executive search firm headquartered in Mumbai for more than 25 years. Wow. And he's into executive search since 1990 with a defined vision, passion to optimize human talent and to offer values-based consulting to diversified client. And yes, he worked in a various industries and placed lot of leadership position and all. Thank you so much, Mr. Nirmit, for accepting our invite. And yes, a lot of question anyway coming, but yes, we will start, uh, with some question. And maybe this is off the track, not in the syllabus. A lot of people asking ki they want to know which are the executive search firm, where they are available, how they can get in touch. So first of all, word of wisdom, advice, or warning signal that executive search position come with a lot of cost. Okay. So first question, sir, how much percentage, executive search position, the headhunting position I'm talking about, what is the percentage actually, uh, is the fees?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Ashish and HR Shapers, for inviting me. The disadvantage of being the fourth speaker is all the earlier speaker has spoken what I wanted to. I'm falling short of words now, and I'm sorry I joined late, but I did get a chance to hear Ronesh and DP. I think they're given very valuable insights, I must say. So your question, if I understand, Ashish, is what is the fees that search consultants charge a company? Am I right?
For a headhunting position, especially.
That's right. I think there are no standards. I think it's again demand and supply. But as compared to success link recruitment, which is called as contingency recruitment, the fees are definitely higher. Also, there are two models globally. One is a fee model, which is a percentage of the first year's earning of the individual, or it could be a fixed fee model. Especially, I would say, positions which are at very high compensation, companies prefer to cap the fees, to say that irrespective of what we pay the individual, your fee is going to be X. The only difference is, as DP also explained, that retained search firms, number one, the philosophy is we represent the interest of the client and not the candidate. Don't take it in the true sense, but we do everything. All our actions are a reflection of what is good for the client. And the fees are also linked in terms of the time that we put in, not necessarily the results. So that's why there is a part of the fee which is paid before you start the search, another fee when we present you a shortlist. So it's a milestone based. So, but broadly, if you to answer your pinpointed question, fees range anywhere between 25% to 33% of the first year's earning, very broadly. But I think everything is today. Every service is getting negotiated, and we are also in an industry where every customer wants to negotiate and they want to see cheaper by the dozen.
Yes, sir. Thank you, thank you. Because why I was asking, because yes, so it is coming with the cost. Everybody, please hear. It is coming with the cost along with the quality. That's more important for senior level and headhunting position, and that's where you are all people working on that. Thank you so much. So my first questions are, please cover some of the point which may not be covered by earlier panelists. Question is the same, that there are some good performer in the organization, and like good performer, they are not in the market. Their CV you may not get it in the normal. Like obviously you need to hunt, then convince them. Okay, why, how do you hunt those kind of people with the reference, or some LinkedIn, because they are too much active, or they are talking in the conference. So these are the potential performer and golden candidate. What's your strategy to hunt them, sir?
Sure. I've been fortunate, like few of my fellow colleagues in this forum today, who started our executive search career much before LinkedIn was born, or a job board came up. So I always tell my team that even during those times, we used to unearth gems in terms of capable candidates from the marketplace. But the social media has just helped us do things faster and kind of cast a wider net. I think it all starts with once you understand what the client needs, because our work starts with the client and ends with the client. And once we know what the client expectations are, a search consultant would sit down, define the search strategy as to where would I find a person like this? What are the kind of organization? Then you systematically identify people working in these companies. Sure, LinkedIn or a job board is possibly one of the few mediums, but there are many more ways. I believe that nothing works better than referrals. If I were to call you for a recommendation, you will think twice before giving a name, because it's finally your reputation also at stake. So personally, if you ask me, I would, as against the unsolicited resume coming to me, I will always give a weightage to a candidate being recommended by someone senior and accomplished from the industry. So I think that's how we and I think we keep building our network. And I say good people like to keep company with good people. So I think you need to define your space and be present in those ecosystems. There are so many, I would say, formal, informal, I would say, special interest group. If I'm into pharmaceutical industry hiring, I need to be present, known in that industry, so that at least I know who are the gems in those sector. Because if someone says I'm a generalist, I work across industry, I would not believe, because you can never make and find the best candidates from the sectors.
Thank you, sir. Yes, a message is coming directly that please be active in particular industries, and that's how you can be hunted. So, sir, you said you represent client, and there may be cases where client said no to the headhunting position candidate, which you may feel okay, he was potential, good fit and all. Would you like to share some of the incident where you are able to convince because of XYZ reason, and which client couldn't look into?
I think it works both ways. I must say that I have also made some of the worst hiring mistakes in my career also, to realize that I probably missed out on many factors or few factors which could have been very important. I think today, the more you know an individual, the more conviction you have about the individual's capabilities and skills. I still believe that unless and until you meet a person once, twice, thrice, and I must confess that most of the hiring which I personally do from my firm are of individuals that I have known over a period of time. And you are able to, I think there is an echo coming. Hello? It's gone. Okay, someone doesn't want to hear me anyway. So there is something beyond a resume. I think a resume, a personal interview meeting will only give you X number of inputs. But once you know a candidate beyond, you know his personal life, his personal likes, dislikes, his ecosystem, his moments of highs and lows. I think you need to go behind the person, because in an interview, everyone tries to be at the best. But how much do you know about the person, just not as an executive, but as an individual? I think once you have those insights, your own conviction is higher, and your ability to then explain, convince the candidate is much more. In fact, I have had cases where the client has, in fact, just to give an example, I've just completed a search for an independent director for a $1 billion pharma company. And amongst the various criteria the client had set when we started, one criteria they said, Mr. Parekh, we want you to only recommend candidates whom you have at least known for 10 to 15 years. We don't want you to, of course, we also know how to use LinkedIn. We have some good recruiters, but where you can tell us enough and more, and you have observed the career of the individual, only those people you know. Now, this gives you a live example to say that then your ability to, when you present a candidate, you can speak much more beyond a resume. It's like you talking about your better half, because you know so much of the person, you don't need a biodata of that. So that's, I believe that you need to go below the skin of the individual.
Yeah, thank you. Great insight, sir. Next question, who are the decision maker other than, we call it CEO, MD in headhunting position? Are there anyone else other than these people?
No, of course, I think the line managers at sites, I would say, depends on the company's culture. I believe like every search consultant, before he or she starts a search, would want to ensure that all stakeholders are fully aligned on the same page. It can happen that the CEO thinks differently, the MD thinks differently, the chairman thinks differently, and the CFO thinks differently. And we have experienced that. And if those, I would say, different opinions exist when you start a search, believe me, the headhunter will be the most frustrated. So we spend, before we start a search, ensure that we spend enough time understanding every stakeholder. So to answer your question straight, I think it depends on the company, the role. Sometimes I've even seen peers getting involved in the interview of the person.
True, agree.
Give me another good example. I think I'm kind of tempted to mention. Today, of course, psychometric testing is being used very, very extensively. Last year, we hired a CEO for a hospital, which is a trust. And there are two trustees in charge, managing or overseeing the affairs of the hospital. And we found one candidate. And the client, that is the two trustees, came to me saying that, look, while you have done a psychometric testing of the candidate, but we want ourselves to be tested to know that are we compatible to work with this individual or not. Very interesting thing, saying that it has to be three of us, needs to be compatible in our personality to work with each other. So I think, again, also what happens is in a multinational corporations, there are many more layers of interviews that take place. So decision makers. So I think as a search consultant, we would always try and understand what is the interview process and who are the decision makers. So that is also explained to the candidate in advance.
Agree. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, this is very different question, and last two question I'm taking. And so the second last question is, have you ever got the requirement for reverse headhunting, where client approach you and asks to hunt for a job for someone to place, just like outsourcing?
Yes, we have done so, but I must say that that is not our specialization. And today there are firms who specialize only doing that. As I again go back to say that we represent the interest of the client, and we don't, candidate is not our client, if I were to put it like that. But for clients wherein we have a long-term relationships, there have also been situations that we have hired a person. Maybe after a year or so, the role becomes redundant, and the client themselves comes back to us saying that, good guy you hired, but I don't have a job for him. We'll be more than happy if you can find a job. And in some cases, they were also given us a fee to say that, look, we are giving you a fee to. So I think there is also a process for that. You sit with the candidate, understand what are his motivators, help him plan. So I think we have done it, I think, on a few occasions, but we don't specialize in that.
Thank you, sir. Last question, and I'm covering 3 points in this question: that impact of COVID, gig economy, and the internal movement in executive search firm. Do you think business has gone down, come up? 3 things: COVID, gig economy, and the third is internal movement.
So just to understand your question, can you just rephrase it? If you don't mind?
So the question is, what is the impact on the executive search business and headhunting position, especially in 3, because COVID has come, so many of the changes must have happened. Second is internal movement is happening where people are being promoted to the senior level, next level, right? And the third is gig economy where, okay, fine, we don't need XYZ kind of fitment.
No, I think most of my, I would say, industry colleagues out here would confirm that the first quarter when the pandemic came was a tough one for all of us, but every quarter after that has been a better one. I think all of us have accepted COVID as the reality, and the hiring is at upswing. I can only speak related to leadership hiring in the industrial space where we work. The demand is very high. Expectations of compensations are very high. Wanting to flexibility to work from home, hybrid work culture is become a reality, and companies are more than agreeable to situations like that. Sure, I would say even the headhunting community is also seeing a lot of transitions happening. I think we ourselves experienced a few exits in our own firm. So, and as you say, it's always difficult to hire people for yourself. But and also, I think what has happened is, I don't know if it answers your question. During the first wave, a lot of search firms also downsized, and I have at least come across at least a dozen startups of people who had earlier worked in large companies and started their own firms. Is that your question? Am I answering your question, or is something specific you want to know?
No, to some extent, yes, sir. To large extent, I would call it. Thank you so much, Nirmit ji. And yes, I know Nirmit ji since last 15, 20 years. Okay. Thank you once again. Okay, so from here, I go to the next speaker. Please, sir, there are a lot of questions coming and a lot of insight based on, what you shared. Please keep interacting through chat box. I'm sharing the screen for the next speaker. Okay, so here is the last speaker for a day. We still have more than 250. We maximum touch upon 400 delegates for this session. So he is Mr. Lakshmi Narasimhan, Managing Partner, Athena Platters. Headquarter is in Mumbai, and he comes with more than 2 decades of extensively professional experience in executive search space, in anchoring leadership position in the area of independent director appointment, business advisory expert, business leader, CXO for Indian business and global MNCs. His area of expertise has been the industrial practice, cover multiple sectors which include automotive, industrial product, manufacturing, energy, list goes on, and is chemical engineer by qualification. Let me request Raja to chair this session.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Good to see you, Lakshmi, after so many years. When in any cricket match, when the going gets tough, the last person has to come in and score runs very quickly, and must be a very, very strong hitter to win the match for you. Or the person bowling the last over has to ensure that he maintains the runs below the winning margin. Lakshmi is going to play that role today. he brings with him tremendous amounts of experience in this space, in other organizations before this. And this is his own organization, which he started, Athena Plutus. And if you look at Lakshmi's background, he has done variety of industries, and that is going to be a very useful thing. Lakshmi, it'll be great if you could share your thoughts to start with, and then we will look at some questions which keep coming up. Over to you, Lakshmi. Ashish, you are on mute.
Lakshmi, you need to unmute. Okay, yeah.
Okay, Raja, really thank you for for bringing me in this forum, and Ashish, HR Shapers. It's really wonderful to get engaged in this ecosystem, and it's also a real pleasure to see my my illustrious industry colleagues, Nirmit, Deepak, and DP, and Ronesh. They're all stalwarts in this industry, but as an individual or as a firm, we are still young, vibrant, and try to bring in whatever learnings we have gained over last 20 years of being in this business. To give a little bit of a background, while executive search is an accident for me, having been in the industrial sales role in the early part of my career, and later transited to executive search, and there's never been a look back. And as many of my colleagues keep saying, which is the truth, that this really grows in you. It's an everyday joy, everyday excitement, and to say the least, is the discovery of getting to know the industry, the people, and top it all, you're creating value for a client and a candidate. That's the approach we as search consultants enjoy and cherish, and that makes us get up in the morning and smile at ourselves and go to work. Yeah, so that's the bit of a background of where I come in from. In fact, Ashish, I made a presentation, Raja, if you can put it up so that it's easier for people to get that through.
I will do that. Please continue.
Yeah.
While Ashish puts up the presentation, Lakshmi, you did mention that you were in industrial sales and now we have moved into a headhunting business. How did that help you? Because I'm sure there's a lot of sales which you do now.
There cannot be a better answer, Raja. Sales, by definition, is all about what you offer to clients, what you offer as a product or a solution or any such offerings. Executive search is all about that, mind you. We are in the art of presenting the right opportunity to the prospects and make them appreciate and understand that this is not another job change, this is a career progression for you. So there is a constant engagement. As search consultants, we keep anchoring this whole journey. And mind you, it doesn't end with an appointment, because this is a relationship game. I'm sure my compatriots will relate to that. And Nirmit beautifully re-endorsed that. End of the day, it's all about relationship. And even DP very beautifully put it up. So I think that's the way the whole ecosystem works. But if you ask me, a sales guy is well suited for a search business, but with their bearings strong on what you intend to pitch for a pitch to a candidate as they move forward.
Okay, go ahead. Thanks.
Sure, great. So, dear all, I wanted to present this whole forum a very simple representation of what is executive leadership is all from a search consultant's lens. That's the whole theme I wanted to present it. Ashish, can roll down. So let me first try explaining the forum here. What does a search consultant do? Again, while the world keeps quizzing about, are you a recruiter or a search consultant? What we are different? Let me clarify that first. A search consultant is a profession who primarily work on business objective. we do, as someone who is trying to identify able leaders who have the right appetite to outperform in the chosen field of expertise. This is across businesses, functions, and so on, with the collective wisdom to work with the team. That's the role of a search consultant. That's precisely I want the forum to understand. And as search consultants, what we deliver to the ecosystem which matters for us is either the client or a candidate. So with the client, what we do is eventually comprehend the need, because eventually every search is led by a specific business objective of why they want to hire a talent. So as a search consultant, we comprehend the need, structure the expectation, because every time when you look for a talent, there's always a need to fill in a gap, or looking at a capability building exercise. That's where the leadership search is always kicked in. But mind you, we also have to control the variables, because eventually there is always a need to bring in everything in one candidate or one role all the time. So we structure the expectation well, and more than anything, pitch to the right targeted prospects and anchor the appointment. That's the job we do for the clients. And what we do for the candidates, mind you, we repay the trust with the exacting opportunities. Dear all, let me tell you, I'm sure many of my colleagues will also understand, as search consultants, we work with finite relationships. We do not go and find candidates for every search. Candidates, relationships, identification is a work in progress for us. So we meet candidates every day, every time, to know who they are, what they do, so that we build that relationship. I think beautifully Nirmit put it up in this earlier presentation, that end of the day, you are as good as your knowledge of a candidate for an appointment more than anything else. And that is equally applicable for you to know how much you know the business of your client. So it's very imperative that when we run a search, we have to know the candidate for a longer tenure, as well as representing the business when you make a pitch. So that's what we do when you're talking about repaying the trust of an exacting opportunity to the client. And more than anything, support the career decision. Mind you, when you have such a strong relationship, what we do is necessarily endorse and perhaps also support these career decisions, why they should take it and what this will mean for next 3-5 years or to achieve their career objective. And last but not the least, when you do the appointment, we also have to be sensitive to the fact that we need to handle them into a new environment, because there's a trust factor comes in play. So that's what we do for the candidate side. Ashish, can we move forward? So this is a classic case of what we essentially look for a leadership is on. I clearly want to make sure that your definition of a leadership is defined in three buckets, what I presented. Know your business. It's extremely important for anyone in any function across the line of your expertise. First, you should know what the business is all about you are in. You should understand your operational landscape. You should understand what technology as an organization you're deployed with, understand the commercial levers, the business economics, your competition at all. Unless if you don't understand your business, you become irrelevant in the way how you will be visualized by a search consultant. Because we start and end the process with how strong you are able to articulate the business you are into. That's the first pillar. Second, know your role. I think what is also happening as we move forward in the way how leadership landscape is truly metamorphing itself. There is a big push in terms of growth. There is a hunger to move up the ladder faster. So in that trade-off, people at times go into a phase where they don't know to articulate their role. It's very important. Let me take a case in point. For you to go and ask a CFO, what's your role? As CFO defining, I'm responsible for all the financial performance of the company. I'm responsible for the audit, MIS, taxation, it's given. But what you need to articulate a role is that as a CFO, I'm responsible for growing the business with a priority in building a very prudent financial performance, as well as bringing in qualitative balance sheet capability. So it's very imperative, which needs for the person to articulate that role with the specifics, what I mentioned, whether it's business vision, what the key priority of your role, what is your span and control of influence, and also your core strength and expertise. That's the way you should define your role. That's an important parameter in which how we look at a leadership. And last but not the least, know your future. You should have a clarity of what professional and personal ambitions you are looking in for. I think beautifully, now Mr. Meduri talked about it in his earlier presentation. If you're not clear about what you want to achieve in your professional career, you're half baked in the way you foresee yourself to grow into a system. So it's very imperative. You should have a clarity of what you want to move up in terms of your own capabilities, understand your strengths and weaknesses, and also talk about what is relevant for you to be upskilled to be chosen by a search firm like us. And it's very important, you should have a very strong participation in terms of forums and conferences, in terms of sharing what is your own way of seeing things. Ashish, let's move forward. Yeah, so I talked about what we as a search firm, I talked about search consultant, I talked about what we look for. And this is something which I wanted to bring it to the forum, that how today's assessment has in turn have changed, rather evolved in terms of you being shortlisted by a search firm and as well as recommended to a client who sees you as a potential employee. Number one is that it's very important when you're articulating your own career progression, you are not measured by the experience. It's all about critical incidents. It's very important for a leadership of any function. You need to cite your critical incidents of work. For example, if you're a manufacturing leader, you should talk about how you have helped to build up a greenfield project, how you are able to bring in a core transformation in the way productivity has gone up by so and so percentage. It's very imperative when you're talking about experience, please factor in the critical incidents which has defined you as a leader in the function or in the way how you are successful in your role. Second, always a big score comes in when you're able to do a lot more influencing rather than authority. Because today's world is become very, very cohesive. It's very important. You need to talk about how you work along with the teams, you work cross-functional. I always keep surprised whenever we talk about the work relationship, people always say that I report to him, he reports to me. It's an authority, mind you, but it's very imperative that as an organization, as a leader, you need to talk about how you have worked with core team members across where you have scored up on the influence and capability rather than authority. And all your tenure, what we're talking about, has to be endorsed with facts and figures. Ladies and gentlemen, be very clear that when you're talking about your profile, make sure there is a good amount of data statistics which talks about how you have contributed to business rather than articulating your role. Everybody knows what the role of an HR is. Everybody knows what the role of a finance leader is. But how you differentiate is able to quantify and present a qualitative stats for the interviewer or the client to relate to your strengths. And another important part is today, while everybody is talking about team building, but I think today team building is getting prioritized by bringing in succession planning abilities. When I say that, it's not about you build a team. It's about building an able team. It's very important that when, as a leader, you have your team well oiled that tomorrow an exit at the top doesn't jeopardize the business. This is quite in the way how the organizations start evaluating talent. So please make sure that when you're building up the fact of a team, make sure the team is very, very strong and able enough to take a loss of a top leader in whichever form. Character is a testimony of professional and social. When I say that, while everybody knows working hard, being diligent, and bringing in your best of abilities is respectable, but it's also important how you carry yourself off work is also equally important. Here, I can even talk about a sport. If you're a marathoner, if you have some sports passion, it certainly rubs into what the mantle you are built upon. So make sure that that qualitative information of your mental strength or any influential capability comes up in terms of presenting you as a professional. And last but not the least, performance is achieved not just by the growth of revenue or market cap or the sales figures. It's all about what you leave back. You should have left back a very cohesive work culture. Mind you, the world is very well networked. Always people know what others are doing. And it is always good to leave a very, very responsible footprint where professionals felt the loss of you and continue to cherish a relationship with you. So that's an very important point I want to highlight. And this is very important, gentlemen. Work ethic is being redefined by diligence to problem solving. Today's world is all about how do you find to define a problem to start with and then solve a problem. The quality of hard work is given. Everybody is working hard, is respectful, but as an interviewer or as a search consultant, we always keep looking for what have you done differently in terms of solving a problem for an organization. There's no harm in saying there was a problem in the organization. Every organization has a problem, but you have been somewhere pivotal in solving any problem, bring it as a highlight. So problem solving or comprehending a problem itself is a big strength which you need to bring in to get the attention of the interviewer as well as the client who you want to be a part of. And inclusive growth. Today's inclusive growth is not only about people and so on. There is a bigger chunk of things coming in, which is people, environment, and shareholders, a new order of success. So this is quite, while it's given, but it's getting a little more serious of how the clients have started evaluating leadership talent specifically. And last but not the least, digital adoption and analytics foundation is a critical skill which every single leadership has to build upon. I strongly recommend, if you seriously want to build up a long-term leadership career, it's very important that it is some form or another, get your foundation of how do you understand data science or understanding analytics or understanding business intelligence, because so much of data available in every form and shape in the current ecosystem. So find your footing to know how to really relate to an analytics or a data science type of work. There are many foundation courses available. It will certainly lead a long way for a right leadership to build upon his career. Ashish, next slide. That's all I want to say. Happy to take any questions, please.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for such a very elaborate and clear sharing of thoughts. One of the things which I want to ask you, is that I see there are a lot of search consultants calling themselves search consultants. You go to LinkedIn and type search consultants, you'll get about 800 people out of my LinkedIn contacts. Now, I want to know, how do you differentiate between a search consultant, a true search consultant, and maybe someone who's a recruiter? How would you, differentiate?
No, Raja, thanks for asking this question. I think this is everybody's question in the mind, I guess, because as the world becomes more more buoyant in that way. I personally have anchored this question even with my professional connects all the time. Let me give a very simple insight for this forum. When a search consultant reaches you, he doesn't talk a job. He first talks the business he represents. It's very important whenever such conversation happens, make sure you ask whoever reaches out, who demands to be a search consultant, able to articulate the business of the client well. That's the first metric for you to know. If the person is able to articulate the business well, he will also be able to articulate the need of the business well. Why this role is required. What the purpose of this hire? That's the second evaluation point. Number 3, it's also important that a search consultant will be the one who will able to give you the reason of why you should look at this job. Mind you, search consultants prepare themselves for a call. I'm sure many of my colleagues will endorse this. We do not call without a preparation. We have our own market intelligence. We have our own network of what you bring to the table. And Nirmit beautifully said, I can't second that any further. I would always go by getting a recommendation from someone who's known you extremely well, because that's the best way of a candidate inside out, not just for a lead, but also add a layer of evaluation to it. So it's very important. These 3 are the important priorities in which how you really relate a search consultant who's here to build a career rather than a recruiter who's trying to fetch a job. It's very clear. A search consultant works for business. A recruiter works for candidate specification.
Oh,
it's very clearly defined. So a candidate, a consultant who's calling you to say, I'm looking for a head of HR with 14 years of experience, ideally worked in IR, and then having some interest in having done some work in the business partnering ability, there's a full stop. We do not approach candidate on candidate specifications. We approach candidates on business. We approach candidates on the purpose of the job. And number 3, we also approach candidate with a far more intelligence of what they have done. So this is a simple metrics for anyone to understand how a search consultant is someone whom we can trust and build a relationship for a long term, rather than looking at a recruiter who's trying to find a quick fix to pick up your CV and build a database of your client. As simple and straight it is.
Thank you so much.
Raja, if I can allow to add one more point to all the right things Lakshmi said.
Yeah.
How do I identify a search consultant? Either the person has white hair like me or no hair. Those are the search consultants.
Good one, Nirmit.
I'm still long way away.
Lakshmi is the other side, which is a very, very thick black hair. And there's a person like Dippy. I think that it's a wide variety of people. Great. Thank you so much, Lakshmi, for your words of wisdom.
Very good.
And for sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ashish, over to you.
Well said, Lakshmi.
Ashish, with your permission, I'll have to take a leave.
Yes,
Thank you very much, all of
yeah.
you.
Okay,
Sure, thank you.
Ashish, I think there's still disturbance coming from your side. I will take it on. It has been a wonderful time we've had
Thanks,
today.
guys.
It's a great experience for me, and the amount of learning which I had. I'm sure the participants also have had a lot of learning from this session. To the participants, we have been able to answer as many questions as possible, not necessarily in the way you have asked, but the way we have put it into the speakers. And to the speakers, each one of you, Deepak, Prasad, Ronesh, Dippy, Nirmit and Lakshmi, a big thank you. I think your sharing of your experience, your sharing of your thoughts has made us all richer. I am personally going very rich out of this session, and thank you so much for that. And just to let everyone know that there's been a lot of interest, not only from participants, but also from the other side, headhunters and search consultants. We didn't want to make the session very long, and that's why we said we'll choose 6 people and go with it now. There are another 6 at least who will be wanting to share their experiences. This will happen sometime end of March, based on how we are able to structure this. So people, all of you are welcome to join that session, and also let people know who have not been able to attend this session to join the session as well. On that note, I want to thank every one of you for the wonderful session today. Ashish, if you are still mute, yeah.
Okay, thank you everybody. There is some background noise, so that's why I requested Raja sir. Thanks everyone for joining. Part 2 is going to happen in March. Another 6 to 8 leading headhunting and executive search firm. Thank you all the speaker, all 6 of them. Thank you our partner, Shafiq, who was the co-founder of HRMS Thread. He couldn't join. He was there, but Gurpreet was giving presentation. Thank you, Shafiq. Thank you, IDPI background verification team. And thanks all the speaker, all the delegates. We look forward to see you in part 2. I did share the link of 15th Feb session. Please join us. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. All the
Thank
best
you,
to everyone.
Thank
Thanks on
you.
behalf
Thank you,
of
Raj.
Shafiq and Mr.
Thank you.
Webb and Gurpreet, as well as my 660 Technology Company.
Yeah.
Bye.
And thank you, Raja sir, for chairing the session.
No issues. Always welcome. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.